Hi there, welcome to the Tuesday Tune-In. This is a weekly show where I'm going to offer you some things to think about, an opportunity for you to tune in with yourself and to reflect on stuff that perhaps doesn't come up in your everyday life. It's all about how to take your next leap, and today we're going to talk about something that comes up for everybody in lots of different ways and can have a pretty serious impact on your life in the short term and the long term. And I said we because I am going to bring on a guest speaker tonight to help me dive into this. And I'm just going to add her in. Working. And I hope you'll stay to the end because we're looking at how to make this real in your life and some tangible ways for how you can do it. So I'm just trying to add her in now. Adding. Here she is. Oh, hi, Karyn. So I'm Nikkola and this is Karyn, and we're going to dive into this. And so Karyn is my sister, and we connect on this topic, how to say no all the time. So Karyn will ring me up and she'll say, I've got this thing, I don't know how to deal with it, I really need to stop doing this. How do I go about that? And the same for me. Karyn backs me up and helps me stay in integrity with myself. So let's go back to the beginning. What's at stake here? What are the kinds of things we're talking about when we say, that we feel like we need to say no to? So Karyn, what comes up for you often, or what are some of the examples that come to mind?
Okay, well, I would say I just had a thought about saying no to things like chocolate, or saying no to television and Netflix and staying up late. And so,
it could be anything.
It could be anything. Saying no to friends and family, like social events. And yeah, those are just a couple of small examples.
Yeah, and often I find it's the social events that cause some tricky stuff, especially when we've made a choice that's going to be a day we take for ourselves. Is that something that comes up for you in your hectic schedule?
Yeah, definitely. There are, especially over the Christmas and New Year period, it tends to always be about catching up with friends and family, as that's normally what people do. And I was invited to a couple of things where previously I had scheduled in time for myself, and whether that was in the form of working on my business for me, or I wanted to go to a cafe and have a coffee by myself and answer emails and do some planning, which is really important to do that. But because I was invited to a family thing and I hadn't seen these people for a while, I felt like I have to go. Like I just have to drop everything that I'm doing and go. And that always feels a bit icky.
Yeah. So, that can be I think challenges around saying no come up all the time. So that's a classic example. And we're going to talk about in a moment where that comes from, why it's so difficult to say no. I want to offer that there can be very big picture examples of not saying no or saying yes to things we feel obliged to doing. So it's on the scale of, being in a career or a marriage or friendships that you don't want to be in. It's big time. This is really gets to the guts of your level of self-worth and how willing you are to be in integrity with yourself as you live your life. So I just want to use that to set the stage of how impactful this is when we get serious about it. So, okay, let's dive in, Karyn. Why is it hard for you to say no?
It's really hard to say no. It's harder to say no to friends and family because I feel like I'm going to let someone down. And there's nothing worse than disappointing someone that I love, and that's someone that means, or someone that's really important to me, and saying, no, I can't be there, or I can't do that thing, because everything that I do comes from an act of service. I want people to be happy, and my way of showing or proving to someone or making someone happy is giving them a service or doing something for them. And when I can't do that, I feel really shitty. Like, I feel like it's a failure for me.
Okay. So what happens if you let that person down in your eyes? What happens next? What do you believe is going to happen? What are they going to think of you as a result of that?
Well, my first thing is that I feel like they're not going to like me anymore, or that we'll lose touch, or that I feel like I'm not worthy because, you know, I'm committed to my friends and my family, or committed to clients. If I actually told someone that I didn't actually want to do that particular job because it didn't actually fit with what I wanted to do, I'm trying to build a reputation for myself, especially in building a small business. Of course, you know, I would say yes to everyone, but that's not really going to work for me in the long run. You know, I like to do weddings, and I like to do families and babies and things like that. But if someone asked me to do, I don't know, I can't even think of something, because I like to do all things that are creative. I'm not.
So I think there's two things there. One is that whether it's friends or it's business, if you say no to someone, there's a fear that they might not ask you again, that might be your only opportunity, or you might lose something in the relationship or, you know, the business opportunity. And second, that if you say no to things and to people, you will be alone.
Yeah.
At the bottom of it, there's a fear that we're going to be alone. If you just said, I'm afraid they won't like me anymore, they won't love me. And then if that happened with everybody in your life, we would be alone. It's like a really core, deep fear that we're riding on here. And I think you said worthy as well. I think that level of self-worth and how much you honor yourself over what other people expect of you. Because you said, you know, for you to give up a self-care day or a day that was going to help you in your planning or being organized or, you know, being on top of things, you know, that's about your self-worth. Your value for how much you deserve is less than the people around you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
And so recently let's talk about what are the consequences from living your life in this way?
Of saying yes to everything, do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I'm a yes person. I say yes to basically everything. And because I want to live a full and happy and joyous life, I try and squeeze as much as I possibly can into a day, or a week or a year. I just want to be ticking things off my list and say, yeah, I've done these amazing things. But the consequence of that is, well, it's obviously burnout is the number one thing. People are constantly saying you're going to burn out, you're burning the candle at both ends. And I'm like, I know, but I'm still going to do it. I'm just going to push through. And some of the consequences that I've been seeing lately is obviously, you know, lack of sleep, not having time or allowing time to look after myself, you know, having arguments with Ben, like stupid things like that, or not allowing time for us to have date nights, which are really important. And so like your relationship suffers, the time that you spend with family and friends, if you get to see them, because I'm constantly saying yes to work. I usually always say yes to work. And those are I'm just always, I constantly say I'm busy all the time. And to me that I hate saying that myself. It's kind of really boring to say, oh, what have you been up to? You know, I've just been busy, you know? So
yeah, because it sort of indicates that you've lost your sense of self. Because when we fill up our lives, I was just talking about this earlier with another person, with lots of stuff, we're avoiding something. I feel like we don't want to be quiet with ourselves. We don't want to allow space for creativity and flow and peace and joy, because, oh my goodness, then we might be more happy than we feel we deserve. or that you know is possible for us to deal with. So by constantly being busy, we don't have time to think about that stuff. But like you said, constantly being busy, just, you know, who are you? If, like, you know, you roll out of bed in the morning and you already feel like I'm not enough. I'm behind today. I need to do this, you know, and going to bed feeling exactly the same.
Mm.
It's big scale, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely, well, I don't even have time to think about it. I don't allow myself time to really think about it. Yeah, I rarely allow quiet time or downtime to think about things that are important or to reflect on, you know, how are things going in my life? Because everything is so fast paced all the time.
Yep. And I'm sure, I mean, you and I don't have kids, but I imagine that busy mums would get really, you know, really called into or be pulled into these kinds of situations. And, you know, you hear people when their kids have left home or even when they go to school or something, you know, the mums are like, oh, who am I again? You know? So it's like if we don't take stock on how our lives are going, like you said, 5-10 years can go past and we've sort of forgotten about what our truth is and who we really are and what we really want. So you and your husband, Ben, I had to say husband then because I normally still say partner, boyfriend. You actually did take some time over the New Year period to get clear. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so at the very end of the year, we kind of looked back on, we made a list of all of the things that we had achieved in 2017 or things that were really awesome that happened, and we came up with a huge list of things, and it was really nice to reflect on that and realize that it wasn't just a busy year. We actually did do things that we enjoyed.
Great.
And then going on from that, you know, on a different day, then we worked on what sort of things did we want to achieve in 2018. And it wasn't about making a resolution or it was more a direction. Like, you know, I took an example from you. How did we want to feel in 2018? And it was so much nicer to approach it in that sense of how do we want to feel. And for us, it was, you know, creating space to have downtime for one another. You know, obviously wanting to spend more time on our businesses and really get them going. You know, we'd love to travel to the US at the end of the year. So we kind of figured out what were our priorities. We kind of, figured out what was the most important thing for both of us.
Okay. So I guess when you come to prioritizing, that indicates to me that some things are going to be higher than others, right? So that means that you have to let some things go.
Yeah, absolutely. I had to let
Cue
go.
How to say no, right?
Yes.
Because when you are a constant yes person, and you know, there's a flip side. Saying yes to things can be really wonderful as well, and saying yes and just jumping in and working it out later can be really beautiful. But we're talking about these things now that, you know, we've actually worked out for ourselves it's not a priority, or we realize that's coming from the wrong place. We're being pulled because of expectation. That's when we really want to be able to say no. So I'm going to give you a little, give everyone a little 4-point, you know, step on how we can do this. And then I want to apply that to a scenario that you've dealt with recently, Karyn. Okay, so step 1, locate the fear or the place that wants you to say yes. So where does that desire to say yes come from? All right, we're going to go into an example in a moment. So that's 1, locate it. 2, decide that you will say no. 3, prepare for that and how you will do it and how you'll support yourself. And 4, do it. Just do it, as Nike would say. Okay, Karyn, what is your example recently you've had to say no to?
Yes, so I figured out that I had overcommitted myself in a week. And I managed to come up with 5 things that I was prepared to say no to, and I've said no to 4 of those things. So, so the 2 of those. So I was playing netball twice a week. I was playing on a Wednesday night and a Thursday night, and on a Wednesday night I was captain. And also Thursday nights is
So that,
yeah, well, it's more responsibility than just rocking up for a team.
sure.
The Thursday team is a half an hour drive away. So it's not just going to play 40 minutes of netball. There's time surrounding that as well. And I love netball. Netball is like one of my favorite things in the world. I've played it for a really long time. And I decided that something had to go in my time during the week. So I had to let go of something because I was feeling the symptoms of stress and burnout and all those sorts of things. And also because I had developed this funny little thing called lower back pain, and I had been ignoring it. And when you're playing sport and you have pain, you just keep pushing. It's really not doing anything to help the situation. So I decided that for health reasons and to allow some more space in my week, that I would say no to playing netball.
Okay.
Which feels
so. Where, why had it been difficult for you up to that point to let it go?
Yeah, I suppose it's because in a netball game, there's 7 people in a team, so 6 of those people are my friends, and I get to see them on a weekly basis, and that's at least 12 people that I'm saying no to. It's not just not just one person. It's not just one thing. I'm saying no to 12 people in a week, which and I felt really guilty for saying no because I really didn't want to let them down, and I think I was approaching it as, if I said no to being captain, that the team would fall apart and it wouldn't be able to continue, and I felt really bad about that because I know everyone loves playing and they enjoy playing.
Sure.
But in doing that on the Wednesday night team, I said, is anyone willing to step up as captain? And my lovely friend Becky has decided to step in as captain, and the team can continue.
So, isn't that funny how easy it is for us to feel other people's feelings for them? So we decide in advance how they're going to react and how it's going to have a negative impact on them. And we actually take away their opportunity to be empowered. And we're just in this perfect example, you've done that and somebody has stepped into that space. Like, how great for them.
Yeah, it's really awesome.
Just very quickly, what impact was it having on you playing when you were really tight on time and you had that sore lower back? Like, what sort of consequence was that having for you in your week?
It was making me feel really stressed. I was rushing to get to games on time. And then, during some of my netball games, I was getting pretty angry. I yelled at some umpires. I yelled at some people.
Right.
And I don't really like to be that kind of person. I don't like.
Sure.
I
so
like
the negatives were outweighing the positives.
Yeah, totally. And my back pain was getting worse. So that was the consequences of continuing to push through that.
Yeah. Okay. So you were able to locate what the issue was, why you were having trouble saying no, which that was about, worrying about what people would think about you, about letting down the team, and also the consequences of what would happen if you were to continue playing. So you made a conscious choice that you would say no. How did you prepare to do that, given that it was causing you some angsty feelings?
First thing I did was speak to you and got some support because it was something that was clearly bothering me and I knew I needed to do something about it. So we talked through it and realised what I needed to do. I knew that I needed to say no. I had been thinking about it for a while. And actually writing down the things that I wanted to say no to made it really clear. I was acknowledging what it was that I was going to say no to, instead of just thinking, I'm just so busy during the week. I actually identified what it was that I needed to say no to.
Okay. And then how did you do it?
Really quickly. So I wrote them down. I had drafted my messages. Some of them were via email, Facebook message, and I still have to have a conversation in person with a particular person. to say no to, and yeah, I just did them as fast as I could, and it was painless, and I kind of just forgot about it. I was like, yep, done. It's out of my hands now.
Yeah. And did you do it quickly so that you wouldn't overthink it?
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So how did you feel after you had sent those messages?
I felt relieved.
And you didn't lose anyone, did you?
No.
Right.
They're still my
So
friends.
absolutely. I want to talk about this point because when you are preparing for, and Karyn and I would have talked about this when we dived into those issues, when you're preparing to say no, it's so important that you are committed to saying no for yourself. You don't attach to how that other person is going to respond. So in the same way, we don't want to feel their feelings for them and have their reactions for them. We don't want to be dependent on them having a positive response, because there's no guarantee how another person is ever going to behave. And Karyn, I'm sure you can think of some examples, you don't necessarily have to share them, but where things haven't gone that well. You've decided to be honest with someone and they haven't taken it well. They've not been prepared for that. Your commitment to your own integrity has to be so strong and so big that you can ride out the consequence of how it goes down. Did you want to say anything about that?
Not really.
Okay.
Only that it is so important to be in line with yourself.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're constantly feeling obliged to do things that you may not necessarily want to do, and that's not a place where I want to live from.
Yeah.
I want to do things that bring me joy. So,
yeah, and I think that's the point. Is it we get to consciously choose what we do in our lives. So, is expectation the platform for making decisions? Is that how we want to live our lives? So, I'm worried about what people think about me. You know, if I don't do this, maybe I won't get that career opportunity in 10 years' time. If I leave my husband, am I still going to have any friends? So that's my huge personal saying no. And it was seriously about integrity to myself, no matter the outcome. I couldn't guarantee that every other person in my life wouldn't leave me. But that truth and that attachment and trust with who I really am was more important. And it turns out when you follow that, wonderful things are on the other side.
Yeah, definitely.
So we just talked about preparing. So try not to attach to the outcome. Maybe when you've done the thing, you've said no, celebrate yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure you texted me and you're like, I've done 3 of the no's already and it went fine, you know, like, why is it important to celebrate those proud moments, do you think?
Well, I mean, saying no to someone it's a brave thing to do. Like, it takes courage to do that. And I think that's worth celebrating, absolutely, because you're growing as a person when you're saying yes to the things that totally align with you, and you're saying no to things that are, you know, they could be good things, they could be fun, but they're not. They just don't fit right now. They're not working out fit right now. So of course, why not celebrate?
And I think by celebrating as well, we have an opportunity to grow that muscle, that courage muscle, because it becomes more and more natural. Like, you're finding it easier over time to say no to things that don't fit in or that don't fit your schedule right now or are not in your top of your priorities. And it's sort of like you get stronger and stronger with that. And we have these like neural pathways. I'm not a scientist. Please do not quote me on any of these things. I believe that there's certain things in our thinking that are really programmed. They're so strong. They're like a cement tunnel of how we've always done things. And the thoughts occur, oh, they won't like me, so therefore I'm just going to do the thing, right? That's the tunnel. Or here we go with an analogy. Each time you decide to say yes to yourself, you're not going through that tunnel anymore. You're going through a bike path. You're choosing the bike lane, right? And you want to make the bike lane really, really strong. So by celebrating yourself, it's like you've got these fans like all the way lined up and down the bike path cheering you on. And then the next time you are going to choose the bike lane because there's so much more fun. There's so much more joy. So many more fans on that pathway.
That was a fantastic analogy. That was perfect.
It's always the best when I think of them on the run. So yes, and the other reason is to call someone if you do start to regret or you feel small or you're going back into that big cement tunnel. Call a trusted person and say, this is how I'm feeling, and they're going to bring you back to why you made that decision in the first place.
Absolutely.
So we're going to wrap there unless there's anything else you want to share, Kaz.
I think you said something to me the other day was when I felt shame about something that was unrelated, the way to kind of nip that in the butt is to share it with someone and share it with someone that you trust. And I told you and you said it's okay.
Yeah.
And just being able to tell someone about that just made it feel better, you know? It can't change the situation, but yeah.
Yeah. Because we're all human and we all go through these feelings together. And what shame wants you to do is think that you're the only one in the world that's ever done anything wrong. And this isn't even talking about doing something wrong. The shame trigger is so strong in us that it comes up when we haven't complied with society's expectations of us. So it's very, very compelling. And we should talk about this more again. I think this is such a huge topic. And if any of this resonates with people in your life that you know struggle with this, share the video with them. And if there are more things that you want to talk about around saying no or dealing with shame, because these are just enormous topics that impact on so many areas of our life, you know, comment below. Let us know what it is that you want to get into and what's holding you back, what areas you want to grow into. It's all about community. It's all about all of us growing together. So please share, do all the social media things so we can continue spreading this message and amazing analogies about tunnels and bike lanes.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Okay. Thank you for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you next week.
Okay.